Welcome back to Anime and Tea Podcast. This is your host, Kim, as always. It's good to hear you guys up and live, unedited, and this new special, not really special, but we're going to start doing like unedited lives to kind of bring out a lot of more of what we are interested in. But today's topic is going to be quite a controversy. But with me, I have Omar and Mara. And we will always start, as always, we were going to go over what's in your cup. So for me, I don't know if you guys have tried this, but I'm huge on hibiscus tea. So I've been making hibiscus tea and like squirting some strawberry syrup. And that's been my summer drink. So it's been yummy.
So fancy.
Is it? Honestly, I feel like it takes forever.
If it takes forever, it's fancy.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my fancy treat. I just need an umbrella or something. A little umbrella.
Less fancy. My handy dandy water bottle with water in it.
Amazing. That's all you need. That's actually really cute though. Did you put the stickers on there or was it like that?
I made the stickers and put them on there.
Oh, okay. Oh, that looks pretty. I like it. Oh, I see the little octopus. Oh, it's so cute. What about you, Omar? Getting something heavy?
I have me some Dutch Bros. I am the Rebel Aftershock, which totally doesn't have any vodka in it.
Wow, I'm pretty sure Joe is huge on Dutch Bros too. So surprising how it's the first time without Joe, and then I'm like, Dutch Bros. Wow, we still have Dutch Bros. Somehow. Yeah. All right, so like I mentioned, today's topic, we are talking about a huge controversy on social media, specifically on TikTok, that has been brought up a couple of times, and I think it would be something great to talk about with our knowledge of anime or conventions in general that we've attended. So the two topics or two videos that are particular to what we're talking about is one in regards to a child. Now, I assume they were 11 to 13. I don't know, unfortunately. But for me, if they don't pay bills, they're childs. So I don't know. That's as general as I am. But yeah, so they attended a voice acting panel for My Hero Academia and asked the question of the voice actor for Deku if who they ship, like particularly in My Hero Academia. They mentioned if they would ship Eri and Deku together. Now, this video, because it was on TikTok, it got stitched so many times with so many information, people believing that children shouldn't attend conventions at all or attend panels, and it just sparked this huge discussion of people attending conventions, if children should attend or shouldn't attend. The other one is our favorite Has-Been Hotel, of course. We've been huge on that this year. And not similar situation, but a child, again, in my definition, someone who doesn't pay bills, did ask the voice actor for Angel Dust if, like, what was it like making the moaning sounds and being basically angel dust and making these awkward situations. Again, people were saying children shouldn't attend 18 plus panels at all, or shouldn't even be asking these questions, because apparently they believe that it makes a VA feel awkward. Of course, they don't know since they're not the VAs, but it's just assumption of what they think. So that's kind of where we're blowing this off. So now let's get a general view. What do we think is considered a child in your definition? Because mine is pretty like, adult pays bills. That's it. Yeah, that's the boundary for me.
I don't think that's fair for me. But I mean, I still consider myself a child, even though, I'm freaking 30 years old, and I'm definitely not a child by anybody's definition. But I do pay my own bills. So like, I'm a child by your definition, I'll take it. Or I'm adult by your definition, so I'll take it. I think there's a difference though. There's like, if you're under 13, you're a child. Once you hit 13 and up, you're a teenager. You're no longer a child. So some of the rules still apply, but some of them still don't anymore. That's just my very vague distinction.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of more along the line with Mara on that one, because I've known plenty of spoiled kids, like back in my college days, who didn't pay any damn bills, but they were like 21, 22.
Yeah.
So
That was me.
I know for people like me and Kim, who probably were broke asses in our college days, we had to pay bills right away, but for a lot, there's some other people didn't quite turn out. They wasn't like that. So my cutoff is kind of like, I think, more in line with Mara, like you're a kid, teenager, adult, at least as far as what expectations are of you. Whether you act like one or not, it's a different story. But societal expectation, I think, is it fits within those demographics.
So sorry, I had to get a whiteboard. Okay, so
Oh,
obviously,
she's serious today.
I am serious. Yeah. Yes, this is a serious thing. Okay.
Right on topic.
Honestly, no.
God,
Colin just
looking
messaged
at
me.
Katie Porter over here today.
Colin just messaged me saying he'll be on in a minute, so I'm gonna mark down when he enters. Hopefully, we might actually have to restart all of this, unfortunately. But let me.
Absolutely not.
Not allowed.
We're on the train. He's out.
We're on the train.
He can jump on the train. He's just gonna miss half the ride. It's fine.
Actually, I don't know if this thing even lets you just jump in, even though we're live.
Because once you're recording, it seals a ton of stuff off.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is, we will ask him when he's ready. Let me know when
Just
you
tell
are
him,
ready.
Tell him to click the link, and either it lets him in or it doesn't.
Okay.
It work all the time.
You know what? Might as well. Heck, this is the first time. It's chaos. It's fine. It's okay.
It's less than chaos.
Yeah, sure. Now, obviously, we all have like different ideas. What are your thoughts on the first social media video that I mentioned about the kid asking those type of questions? Like, I'm curious your guys' point of view, if they're okay, if that was an okay question, first of all. And is it okay to make a voice actor feel uncomfortable because of those questions?
I mean, making someone uncomfortable purposefully sucks. You're not a nice person if you make someone uncomfortable on purpose like that. But to be fair, voice actor for an anime that has a ton of shippings, kind of expected. If we're bringing in the whole like child thing into it, we don't know their actual age, right? We're assuming they're like, what, 13? Minimum or maximum? Like,
it seems like that's the assumption. Like somewhere between 11 and 13 is the age that they're thinking of.
Pushing it for me, because like at a 13-year-old, you're shipping people. Like you're shipping anime characters all the time. That's your status. That's what you're doing. That is your life if you watch anime. And I have no issues with that whatsoever. But if the voice actor doesn't like it, don't go back and ask the same question, or don't have somebody else ask the same question, or somebody else shouldn't ask the same question, because now you know that makes that person uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You can't really help it if that was the first time that kid asked that question to that one voice actor. But I have no issues with that having happened. I don't know the full story, but like from what we know, I don't really have an issue with it.
What about you, Omar? What's your whole idea behind it?
Honestly, I think there's a lot of complexities to it that nobody's talking about. Like, first and foremost, I mean, I agree with Mara's point of like, it's not good if you make somebody uncomfortable, but you don't necessarily always know what that line is, because that line is different for other people, and you're never in someone's head, so you don't necessarily know where it is for them. It could have been something of like, the voice actor might have, if the voice actor hadn't responded poorly, would this have even been a question? If that wasn't on his line, if he was like, "Oh, you kids always joking around, no, that's terrible," and just moved on, would that be an issue? Probably not. But at the same time, it's not his responsibility to change how he feels on it based on the questions that are asked. The part that kind of for me is a lot more worrisome is a lot of the rhetoric I saw, because when I heard about it, I went and I looked up, I found like one of the original TikToks of the actual video of the question. And I was going through the comments section, and everybody says it's terrible that a kid was making this comment. But then I'm seeing in the section, like, does anybody know who she is? Does anybody know her social media? Do you know where her stuff is, because people want to go and like start flaming her or like making her feel bad for what she did. And I'm like, we're just talking about how it's a kid shouldn't be asking this question. But now now there's a large contingent of people who want to go and shame a child.
Wow.
I'm like, there's something in the comments of that stuff that is going way in the wrong direction, and way off topic of, was this an appropriate question or not? Because now people are wanting to go and find the actual person who asked the question. And frankly, to me, that's a lot creepier than what she asked, because like Mara said, shipping is a big thing. I mean, we wouldn't have like the entire Twilight series if it wasn't for shipping, which, I mean, kind of works against my argument, but we won't go into that. The point is, shipping's been a huge thing for ages and ages. And the rhetoric I'm seeing on here is kind of almost worse in some aspects than that comment ever would have been.
Yeah, you do bring up like the idea. So I love My Hero Academia. Okay, I'm like a huge fan, of course, but I've always heard the idea that My Hero fans are just like crazy, chaotic. They're just so mean. And like when people are like, "Oh, what fandom do you hate the most?" It's My Hero Academia, and I'm like, I never really truthfully understood that, because to me, I never met those huge fans that are like, telling me what they believe in. I like talk about the whole idea of like a child being a hero and having to save the world. Like that's the aspect that I like about My Hero, but that's my limitation. I'm not going to talk about like who I hate, why they added this person, why did this person die? Like for me, I'm like, it is what it is. It's the creator's ideas, it's what he wants to put on it, and I'm fine with it as long as the story goes great and I enjoy it. But now that you mention how, and I'm assuming, I don't know, but these My Hero fans are like, how could they ask that? And they're probably the ones stalking this person and trying to get like something out of it, but they're still a child. Like it's not okay to like stalk a child. Like what's I don't know if they realize that, yeah, there are certain times where, yes, it would be great to find that person that said something mean, but those are adults. Like in those situations, it's an adult doing something super bad that they want to like tell their workers or their company about. That makes sense. A child, though, what the fuck are you gonna do? Just be like, oh, you're an evil person, and then that could even lead to like even worse of a fandom just because you're doing that.
Yeah.
Well, not to mention, like, people in that age are so susceptible to bullying in so many different aspects, especially like me growing up as an old, like, I'm almost 40. Growing up as an anime fan before it was even close to popular, the thought about people trying to target a child because they said something inappropriate is, to me, just like the most ridiculous, like, just out of scope response for that, because I know what it was like to be made fun of for liking nerd stuff where it wasn't acceptable and people were just looking for any reason to bully you. And then now it's popular. We're like, hey, now we can be the bullies. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, at that point when we're talking about like bullying a 13-year-old, there's no distinction between like a child for me and a teenager. Like at that point, they're a kid. You're not bullying that kid for asking a question that is honestly perfectly fine in their age group. And probably took her, I'm assuming it's a her, sorry if it's not, took her a ton of guts to even get up and ask that question in the first place.
That's true. I'm always scared to even like ask a question in front of a VA, because I'm like, what if they think my question is stupid, and they're just like questioning why I'm there in the first place.
I ask myself that all the time.
So yeah,
and that's the thing. Like, it's affecting a child the same way it would be affecting an adult at this point. Like, we're all thinking the same things this child probably went through. It's like, I want to know this question. Is this a fine enough question to ask? I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Like, if there were no ill intentions behind it, I see no issue with it. 13-year-old, you want to know if he ships it. He didn't. I'm really sorry it made you uncomfortable. Let's move on and never ask him that question again.
Yeah. It's really hard because these VAs go to so many conventions as well. So I assume they probably get asked these like same questions on shipping,
a lot,
stuff like that. So it's like, Yeah, it sucks they have to deal with one awkward, but they probably have to deal with a lot more every time they go anywhere.
Yeah, and at that point, can you even consider it an occupational hazard? It's like you're gonna get these questions asked of you.
Yeah.
And I feel really bad if it does make them uncomfortable. I really do.
I wish
get used to it, but like you're gonna keep getting that question.
Yeah. I just wish they would make a statement, because people can assume a lot, and it's an unfortunate thing, because we could say he looks uncomfortable, like look at the camera, look at how he's looking at the people, how he's making these weird facial expressions. Like, you can look at them, but for all you know, they might have a resting bitch face, or you can assume anything. And it'd be nice for them to just come out and kind of not resolve the issue, but kind of put their point of view. Hey, like, look, I get asked this question constantly. Is it awkward? Yes, but it's part of my job, and I'm okay with that type of deal, than having all these people just be like, no, it was awkward.
No, I'm not okay with it.
Yeah, like, stop, what's so bad about that,
No. One thing I will put out there, and just so we've covered the whole thing on it, is the voice actor did put out a tweet saying he did want people to stop asking weird questions.
Perfect.
Now, the part that I don't know personally is, I don't know if he put that request out before or after this particular event we're talking about happened.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the fun part about, I say fun and with heavy quotes, with the current TikTok method of getting news, is nothing ever has dates. And you have to search and figure out when stuff happened to see the order of events. And so it's not really easy to know what happened first. And also, with all the multitude of different social media out there, it's also like, okay, you put out on Twitter, because I refuse to call it X, that you don't want people to ask you shipping questions. Is that person on Twitter, do they know that you've asked that?
Yeah.
Because there's 11 other things they may be on instead.
So Colin has joined us into this session a little late, but that's fine.
Because I can correlate a lot of the same stuff to like other communities I'm part of or were part of. Like, Magic is a good one. At the local comic book shop I played at, we would have a couple of kids who would come, and I knew their decks. I knew their parents, and I knew the types of decks that they were playing, and like, I was beating them. Everyone was beating them because they're like 11, 12. And the other players would sit there and say something like, well, they're not going to learn if we just let them win. And I'm like, no, but helping them understand how this works is like pretty much there. So like, I would deliberately lose games to help teach them how to play their deck. So I do understand the idea of like, should kids be involved, or should kids, like, at what level should kids be involved at? In my opinion, like, asking a shipping question is not nearly as suspicious as a child. Like, I get a little suspicious of adults doing it. But, like, again, if anyone under the age of 16 goes, no, I think they would be a good couple, I don't care. That's sure. Watch the show, have fun. You have thoughts about it. I like that. It's usually when I ask adults that question, and if I ever ask why and I don't ask follow-up questions, I usually regret it.
That is one hell of a good point, Colin, because I don't think I've heard anyone make that point of like, it's a kid asking that, like you said, is not that weird. An adult would be the problem. And that's a hell of a good point, sir.
It's just, a shipping question is usually pretty harmless. It's never questions like let me actually get a little deeper on that. In the realm of shipping, I usually never have a problem with questions. It's when fan bases get out of control with it and they refuse to either A, just enjoy it, because like, you're not writing the story, they are. You can ship it, you can enjoy it, but you're not writing the story, they are. And the other one is like, you're willing to like abandon any bit of logic for this realm of make-believe, it starts to like kind of take away from it. Are you watching the show because you enjoy the show, or are you watching the show because you think the character's a little hot? How many people have friends who watch the show Supernatural?
Actually, well, I have a lot of friends that watch it, but
Yeah.
I've never been into it. It's too much.
Fair.
I will vehemently tell you that it stopped being good at season 5 because they told a complete story. That's it. The story had a beginning and an end from season 1 to season 5. Season 6, they had a whole new writing team, and people were just big fans of it. And whenever I asked them, why? Is it still good? And they're just like, no, but the two guys are hot. They even make jokes about shipping them. Like, it gets meta in the show. I'm like, they're brothers. That's weird. You're all...
Yeah,
I don't think I even knew that.
Incest is not the best. Don't
That's
put your sibling
funny.
to the test.
Wait, since they're the Winchesters, would that be Wincest?
Oh, yeah, it would be.
Why?
You did it. I wish you didn't, but you did it.
Oh god.
Oh my god, Omar, you
Live
took it a step
Banned,
further.
banned.
I'm sorry if the layup is there. I'm going for 2.
You know what, man? I don't blame you for it. It was there.
Well, I do feel like I know, Omar, you mentioned that the voice actor did put out a statement just saying those questions are awkward. I'm just curious if they even mentioned like what questions in particular were awkward, or what if there were like anything in particular they could have detailed that maybe stop asking me these type of questions, because like those are the ones that I'm not okay with, type of thing.
Honestly, my guess is just based on, because remember, there's other directions it goes to, because there's shippers out there that will ship Deku and All Might.
That is so wrong.
They go both. So I'm guessing he gets the full array of awkwardness.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, how do you ship Deku and One for All? I'm like, really?
It's yeah.
All for One. I forget which one's which. I always mix up his name. The bad guy.
They're both at this point. I mean, honestly, the ship is probably both ways.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe just like shipping in general would be like a good way to be like, can we just not talk about that? Because I mean, I get it. You guys are kids. Well, in my mind, you guys are kids, and those questions, I get it. You like one character, and you're like, oh, they'd look cute with this character, stuff like that. But you know,
And
if he gets this question a bunch, I would also
I
ask
still
to stop.
have issues with like not asking the question, because like you're in that fandom, you're hearing the voice actor of one of your favorite characters, and you want to know how in deep they are to that character, like how in tune they are with that character. So you want to know, are you in the same vibe as I am or not? It's like I get where the question is coming from, and I still don't really have an issue with it. But again, this voice actor already told at least one part of his fan base, please don't ask me that question, I don't like it.
Yeah. I think it's just a respect thing too. Like, they're doing the job, they got hired to just do the voice, and maybe, you know, I know that for sure she asked like how much of a fan he is, and he's like, like I've watched some of it, you know. But he automatically, it just sounded like he wasn't like a huge, like the fandom as like deep
job.
into the lore, right? It's his job. So maybe like those type of questions, it's more for the fandom base instead of like the voice actor who's like, yeah, I've watched like a few episodes, you know, obviously I've recorded all of them. And maybe he's just like not into it that deep compared to other people.
Yeah, and you gotta, I mean, maybe not compare, but like Deku's voice actor versus Dante Bosco, who is into his characters, and like he goes all out for his characters. He is his characters. And you'll ask him questions about Zuko, and he's like, yeah, Zuko would do this, or Zuko wouldn't do that, or, you know, he knows his character inside out.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that whole controversy for sure, you know, I'm not saying kids, because of that, kids shouldn't attend conventions, but I do have the sense of respect. Like, they should respect if a voice actor would prefer not answering those type of questions continuously, because I understand it's their job. They get paid to do these things, but at the same time, it's like, he probably gets tired of it, and it maybe is a little bit of a mental toll too, because he's like, gosh dang it, another one. How do I redirect this like last second, or choose someone else, or not make it seem like I just don't care,
Well,
And
that
is
also
this
begs the question, like, sorry,
go for it.
but like when the organizers of the panel and the con saying like, okay, line up for questions, and they just set the expectation like, hey, no shipping questions. If you ask a shipping question, it will not be answered, and you'll be asked to leave the panel.
Mm-hmm.
At what point, like, are they coming in to set the expectations of what's okay? Like, if it's the voice actors can say, hey, I don't want none of these questions, and then they can just make that announcement at the beginning, and if people don't have other questions, then somebody else can go.
Yeah. I do feel like conventions lack at that. Like, they lack, this is a completely different thing, but I do feel they lack the activities and being able to incorporate some things for kids in particular, in order for them to enjoy it. Because obviously, for the panels in particular, a lot of the panels that I've gone to do kind of seem more of like game shows, but on top of it, more adult-ish. I don't see them very much like choose kids to answer or play along or anything like that. So I do feel like it's something that the convention should think about, that if they are charging for children to attend, like, do you have activities for them? Is there something they could go to where, they can ask, not ask these type of questions, but kind of like have this kind of interaction and it be okay, where they're actually enjoying it. I understand this is voice actors. A lot of people are fans and want to talk to them. But I do feel like there's a lack of that. There is a lack of activities and being able to incorporate kids in a convention. At least my thoughts
for a
are.
reason, right? Like, those conventions aren't family based. You're not supposed to bring your kid to it. The voice actors or the people, the stars going there, they're not centered around kid shows. It's honestly probably that simple. I think, though, to Omar's point too, is like, you could set that expectation up front. You could let the parents know, if there's parents there, which there should be if you're a child, your parents should be there too for a convention like that. Or like, I think, and I'm going back again to Dante Bosco's panels because I love Dante Bosco, he had the people handing out the microphones say, what is your question? So that they know the question beforehand, and then they give you the mic saying your question is okay to go. That's a really good barrier for, we know this person, this voice actor, isn't okay with these questions. We're not going to let you ask that question. Or we know this panel has minors, don't ask 18 up questions. It's just that kind of level setting is really helpful up front. And for voice actor panels, having the person handing over the microphone or letting you ask the question, letting that person know what the question is really helps.
Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't even know that, but that's like that next level of like what conventions should do. Like, you're going to have voice actors. This is the expectations. Ask them what they're comfortable answering or what they're not. And just be respectful.
Be the gatekeeper, kind of, I guess.
Yeah.
And gatekeeper is a bad word for it, but.
It's needed, though, because some people, like, just go off leash, And it's like, dude, why are you asking that? Like, I don't know, ask something that is interesting or, like, about them, not, something so awkward.
Awkward is different for everybody. I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, that's true. Now, the second video that I mentioned, which is a little bit more of a controversy, and this is because, again, Hazbin Hotel, it's huge. It is an 18 plus. It even says it on the Amazon Prime. It is for 18 plus only. Even has a warning for parents. Okay, and this VA panel for Hazbin Hotel had a child. Again, from my general standards, they did look like 15-ish, maybe 16. To me, they're still a child, but whatevs. And they asked the voice actor, how did it feel making these voices of like moaning and sexual voices being angel dust? And I also spiked another controversy because literally, I believe in that video they even asked, where are your parents? Like, did your parents let you watch this? Like, do they understand this is not a cartoon for kids? And I mean, that's another thing. Like, in that aspect, this is I would assume 15, 16. All right. Maybe a little bit younger. It's been a while, but should these be 18 and plus panels, how the fudge did this person get through? And like, again, there was just no way to actually like stop this question from coming out. But yeah, I'll see what you guys think about that situation, because it is a little bit more different.
Well,
in
and first
with
off,
the
we're
show.
assuming that they're under 18, right? Like, we don't have any confirmation that they are in fact 18 and just look really young.
We have no
That could
confirmation.
happen. I will
Yeah.
let you know that could happen. But yeah, I mean, if we're assuming, hopefully correctly, that they are not 18 and under, they probably shouldn't have been at that panel, because those voice actors are there for an 18 plus show. Why are you there? I don't really care about the question you're asking. Why are you there to begin with? And then that question gets asked, then it's even sketchier.
Yeah, I don't like answering any kind of question, even remotely humored towards like anything slightly adult theme. If it's so much as like on an episode of Degrassi, and a 14-year-old comes up and asks me that question, go talk to your parents. Leave me alone. No, don't ask me these questions. Yep. What's this? Go talk to your mom. I'm not doing this.
Like me and Colin, you don't answer questions for no kid about nothing.
Nothing. I'm lost. Where's the bus stop? Go talk to your mom.
Go find any
adult that's not me.
Exactly.
No. But yeah, Mara is right. Like, there's a certain level of... So I was exposed to like a lot of probably adult-ish stuff at a pretty young age. It's fair to say that most people in the podcast have been. You know, I was like, oh yeah, I was 7 years old watching The Howling, baby 1970s full frontal nudity werewolf movie. Like,
I watched Full Metal Jacket when I was 4.
You get it. You get it.
I absolutely get it.
You don't understand what's going on, but you're just like, that's loud noises.
Where were your parents during this time?
What were they doing?
Sitting on the couch behind me.
Glad I was not talking.
Yeah. Sit down, your giant head's in the way of the TV. But no, that's it. Is like, I do come from a very straightforward household where if you asked a question, your age was irrelevant. You're getting the answer. But because I grew up in that, I also knew when not to ask those questions. Probably at like a large family function. Yo, Dad, what were those noises? No, don't ask. You know better. So yeah, I do understand where a voice actor would, like, especially with humor, attempt to diffuse a situation like that with, where are your parents? But there has to come, like, some level of understanding from both from the, like, staff and volunteers of the con about, yeah, see, I know what this show is. I know it's an 18 and up show. We can't have it. At some point, I think maybe some of these people are just rubber stamping it without actually understanding the content or even the context of the content. Like, no, it's a cartoon. It's like SpongeBob, right? No, not even a little.
Man, if I heard a kid compare, like, Has-Been Hotel to SpongeBob, I'm like, something's wrong with you. I mean, those two compare is nothing.
Go watch
like.
a little bit of SpongeBob.
I was gonna say, SpongeBob it's spicier than you remember.
Oh yeah, well, I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Yeah, you didn't
That's
catch
why
all
you
of
didn't
it,
realize
but
it.
it's a bit more. Adults can watch it and still enjoy it for a reason.
Oh really? Okay, well now I'm curious. Now I have to watch SpongeBob.
But it's still not Has-Been Hotel, right? Like, it's not an 18 plus only show.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple things interesting about this second conversation here that I'm kind of curious what everyone else's thoughts are. Like, it sounded like, Kim, you saw like the actual like original video, because like the only thing I've seen on TikTok is I've had a bunch come across my feed of a bunch of people talking about it. But in this wonderful TikTok verse that we're in, which, you know, I like TikTok, I'm on there quite a bit, but one of the things that drives me bonkers, especially being almost 40, is that there's never a freaking source for anything. There's never a link to the original video. I've seen everybody talk and talk and talk. I've heard the age reference as like a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old being the one that asked these questions. I haven't seen the video because I can't find it. If I do a search for the video, it doesn't come up. Supposedly, maybe it got deleted, whatever. But the conversation keeps happening, and I can't find the actual video. So in my head, I'm like, did it actually happen? 2, is it really like, was the kid as young as they say? Or 3, are we just playing the 2024 version of Telephone, and every time this thing gets retold, it's more ridiculous than before? And the next thing we know, it's going to be a baby nursing with his mom asking a freaking question at the panel. Like, what is the actual reality we're looking at and that we're reacting to? I have no flipping idea because I can't find a damn source.
Right. Or even like the actual question within itself, right? Because there can be a very big difference between a question of like, compared to your other roles where you play like a talking frog who lives in the bog, followed by a character named after a street drug who just really loves to have sex. What's like, how hard is it to transition from that? Like, we don't know, I personally don't know what question was at, like, how the question was asked. That could easily be over exaggerated.
Yeah, like some things say that he asked what it was like making the moaning sounds is what the response was, but the actual question could be like, hey, was it kind of tough to get a character to read those script that they wrote for you for that character? I don't know what they actually asked because I can't flip and find the source anywhere.
And I'm not entirely sure, and this might sound mean, I care or that matters, right? Because we're still assuming hearing that they're a minor at an 18 plus VA panel. So no matter what question they asked, I still don't think they should have been in the room to begin with. Like, if you're asking a question that'll lead to that character or that voice actor's character that is an 18 plus only, you shouldn't be getting the answer to it because you shouldn't be there. Mm-hmm. That's my main issue.
Right.
But yeah, the question really does matter. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
The question really does matter, I think, once you're allowed in the room. But that person, again, probably shouldn't have been in that room to begin with.
Right. So then does it fall back onto the con itself for either not checking or not stating that it's an 18 and up panel?
At least in my opinion, 100%. Like, you are advertising an 18 plus show, advertise it properly as an 18 plus show and an 18 plus only panel.
I would agree.
I mean, I say treat it like we do like movies, video games. If you're going to be in something like that and you're not at age, you have to be accompanied by your parent or another adult. Because like, there's a couple times I got to see a couple of radar movies in theaters when I was a kid, and they're mostly like action, like sci-fi movies. And so one of my parents would go in with me. Yeah. And I think that'd be fine. And like, just for fun, like I pull up like NDK's policy here, and like NDK's policy is that, you know, children under 13 have to be supervised by a parent. I'm sure for legal reasons, which Mara, I'm sure you could talk more about this. They probably all have that somewhere on their website for the for their cons.
I sure hope
it's
so.
Just a matter of, are they actually following through with it? And this one feels to me like a con failure. And if this is like a 9 or 10-year-old, it's not a 9 or 10-year-old's failure that he wasn't supervised. Mm-hmm. He's 9. They're 9 or 10.
Yeah,
I'm impressed that they found the damn room. Like my son forgets to leave the house with his shoes half the time, and he's 8. So you know,
I can relate.
Whatever.
No, I like that. That's a good point too, but not a but. In addition to that, the con and the parents both need to be like, again, we don't know the whole video. I still haven't seen the whole video. I don't know if the parents were in the room. Like, if the joke was, where are your parents? Oh, they're right here. Ask away, right? Like, the parent allowed it, ask away. You are allowed to be in this room now. But without knowing the whole context, without knowing the whole video, without seeing the whole situation, you're not supposed to be in the room.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what drives me bonkers about the whole, like, new TikTok controversies. We never know the full aspect. We have the little clip that then people react to, and then you can't find ever again. And you're like, I don't know.
So sad. I'm not on the TikTok. I don't know what this TikTok is.
It's
I know.
The same as your Instagram Reels.
Yeah, or Facebook Reels. Well, I guess they're linked, so they're both Reels.
You guys use those social media? I just go out and stare at the sun.
Must be nice, Colin. I can't.
It's
My
not.
eyes will go bad.
It's not. It's painful.
They'll go bad looking at social media too. Trust me.
Yeah. Oh,
Your
that's
brain goes bad from looking at social media. Significant difference.
true. Okay, guys. Jeez, I'm just kidding. I do. It's very bad. Surprisingly, when I go on vacations, I barely look at it. Like maybe 30 minutes, and then that's it. But when like I have a whole day of working, it's mind numbing, and it's so bad. So bad.
I'm not gonna
sometimes.
lie. I thought we were still talking about the sun.
Oh yeah, that's also mind numbing.
I'm like, you
Very-
just look at the sun for half an hour.
Well, overall, I do agree that most of it does seem like to be the convention's fault for sure, because it is an 18 plus. And for all we know, I mean, I kind of agree with Omar. I don't know the context. Like, they literally like videotaped this girl for maybe 2 or 3 seconds asking the question, and then flipped it over to the VA. So like it's so hard to actually like see and be like, oh yeah, she's definitely like younger than 18, just because the VA was like, where's your parents? Like, and they tend to do that a lot with their videos too. They just can't, they're so far away from the stand or whatever, that it's really hard to be able to be like, are you an adult? Especially if they're in cosplay. Like it's even worse, like being able to be like, oh, you are an adult, no, you are a child, type of thing. But I do think, like, although conventions are really bad at being able to recognize these things, I do feel it's important. I feel like it's one of those things where, like, what if a child does accidentally get in there and they're like, what are we talking about, right? And then next thing you know, they're the ones looking up this has been hotel, already watched it, it's supposed to be 18 plus, and completely just did not realize what any of these things are. Another thing that happened, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but one of the cosplayers that I follow, she gave out a statement stating, so she did a lot of cosplays for Has Been Hotel, just like in her social media, and she did release a statement just stating, hey, if you're young, like if you are a child, please do not like tag me in your Has Been Hotel videos, because it's like I like how she presented it, because she's like, I love that you guys have an idea that you're creating cosplays and stuff like that, but seeing a 13-year-old cosplay as Angel does is just not okay to me. And you know, I had this conversation with my boyfriend, because it's a hard idea that yes, this show is 18 plus. Yes, this is supposed to be a porn star, and children are just like cosplaying as Angel Dust, and it's like, do they just not understand what that means, what Angel Dust represents, and stuff like that? So I don't know, I want to throw it out there, like, should 13-year-olds be cosplaying as a cartoon porn star? Like, is that even okay? Why aren't the parents watching these things with them? You know, because it's a huge thing. Whose Amazon account is are they watching it off of? You know?
When I'm gonna go dark, we're assuming they all have parents that are gonna care and watch over them and tell them, no, this is right, this is wrong. We're also gonna assume that, like, this 13-year-old knows what they're doing and actively knows this is a porn star, what that is, what the job entails, and like all of this detail. It's a lot of assumptions going on that honestly I don't feel comfortable making, and then saying, oh yeah, you can cosplay this, or no, you really shouldn't be cosplaying this, whether you have that background or not. Yeah. So like, it's, and I hate saying this, it's a case-by-case basis, because that sounds really lawyer-like and I hate it. But it's like, it's situation by situation, right? Like if you've had that parent guidance growing up saying, you're not allowed to watch this until you're 18, or if you watch it, you're watching it with me and I'm explaining every single thing to you so that you understand what's going on. That's not everywhere. That's not every kid that's cosplaying that character. I don't think it's fair to say you can't cosplay because you're 13. But it's still like, you're a 13-year-old, you really shouldn't be cosplaying it. Whether you might not know it or not, but others feel uncomfortable. And that in itself makes it not okay in a grand situation, right? Like, a very horrible explanation, but...
No, because it's like the same idea as, like, on Halloween, those, like, ridiculously scantily clad Halloween costumes. Would you let your kid go out in that? then you probably shouldn't let your kid dress up as this character. But there's a certain level of it's close to what you said, Mara. It's not so much that like the parents don't care; it's that the child is unsupervised in their entertainment. Omar, you remember Ren and Stimpy?
Oh, I watched so much Ren and
Dude,
Stimpy.
yeah.
Do you remember your parents ever actually sitting down and trying to watch an episode with you?
Absolutely not. I would have changed it.
Oh, yeah. My dad came in one time and tried to watch an episode with me and goes, "What the actual hell?" And I'm like, "It's powdered toast, man, Dad. I don't understand." No, the rest of it. I don't know if I think I'd rather you just watch The Simpsons. And, like, my dad was not, again, like, watching really wild, out-of-pocket stuff for a kid. My dad's just like, this is a bit much. I can't have this one. Nah, I'm going to be firm on this. And because, like, I was allowed to watch whatever I want whenever my parents sat there and said, "Not this one. No." Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, it's better than just, like, all of it's gone. I could still watch South Park. But, it kind of falls in the same line. It's like, oh, that's just Emily's favorite show. Emily just likes that show. It's a cartoon. How bad can it really be? And then you're just like, it's that bad. Yeah, like that's gotta fall on the parents. I'm making a costume of a character. What's the character? And if your kid says Angel Dust, PCP, I got my kid's name is, or my character's name is LSD. Stop. Something's wrong. Ask follow-up questions.
See,
I need to see what this character is.
I feel like everybody forgets. I mean, maybe I'm too old at this point, but it just feels like I feel like as soon as everyone turns 18, they forget about what kind of like lawyers they were. No offense, Mara. When it came to trying to convince your parents what you could watch or what you were watching when you were kids. Like, I still remember the way that I tried to describe to my mom why playing the game Doom when I was like 13 was okay. I'm like, no. I'm like, she's like, it's really violent and everything. I'm like, I know, but I am shooting demons, which when you think about it, isn't that the most Christian thing to do? Think of like those arguments you have.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, there's how many times did these kids say like, oh yeah, I'm going to cosplay this character named Angel. That's it.
Yeah.
They don't say Angel Dust.
That's fair.
Like how
That's
like
fair.
how much stuff, like the goal always from like age, like at this point it feels like age 10 to like 17 is try like trick your parents into letting you do stuff you're really not supposed to. And literally everybody did it to different degrees. Some people it was going out and doing stuff. For me, it was just trying to play games I shouldn't have been playing or get away with watching things. And so people are exposed to this at a younger age than they should be.
Yeah.
So I'm with Mara.
I mean,
like
a 13-year-old.
It's not that hard to trick your parents into letting you watch something on Amazon, especially because most of us separate our profiles in like Amazon because we don't want to like have. I don't want to get a bunch of recommendations for like PJ Masks and stuff like that. But at the same time, I also don't want my kids to get my recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
So we just separate out. So, it's going to be hard to take a look at everything. And if you have parents who don't know how to do parental controls very well, or if you're, some parents don't know how to have a good password and their kids figure it out, or to Colin's point, some kids just don't care, or some parents just don't care. And
yeah. And I mean, at this point, I'm still using the distinction of child versus teenager. If we're talking about a 13-year-old, at that point, they're a teenager. Their goal in life is to trick their parents into letting them do what they want.
Right.
At that point, yeah, you're going to be a teenager saying, I'm cosplaying. Here's the character design. This is it. Like, you're not going into as many details as you probably... You're going to go as minimal detail as possible so that your parents let you do this. If they're the parents that you need to get permission from. If they're not the parents you need to get permission from, you're a 13-year-old, you're a teenager, you watch the show, you liked it, you can make it yourself or you can pay for it yourself, go for it, right?
Yeah.
Not understanding the full ramifications of what everybody else is feeling around you because of it.
Right. My argument would simply be, though, is that it makes sense with our generation how we did those things and got away with it. But it is alarming how we fell into our, like, because the kids that we're talking about, these, like, kids to teenagers that we're talking about is coming from Gen X and millennial generation. I mean, we're talking 13-year-olds, right? It's weird that we decided not to take any interest in what they are viewing. Again, kids are going to be sneaky. Kids are going to go ahead and watch whatever they want to watch. They're going to like play whatever game they want to play. That's just all there is to it. But it is alarming. It's not alarming. It is interesting how we fell into the same habits of like, at least I'm not listening to it. And that's where we kind of like bump into these problems with the cons. Because like we can't blame the con for everything when it can easily be dealt with by the parents, and we can't like let the parents take a slide and dump everything onto the con staff. Because if we do that, it's going to get to a point where the cons are just going to be like, nope, under 16 not allowed. I mean, think about concerts, right? Like how many all ages shows are not truly all ages? It's literally like 15 and up. I went to the Aquabats. That was the first concert I have ever gone to where there were children. I mean, children. I didn't realize that MC Bat Commander made a show called Yo Gabba Gabba. So, my bad.
Oh my god.
But like, after thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, all their music is like Pizza Day. They have a song called Pizza Day. But like, you go to other shows. It's all ages. No, it's 15 and up. And if we keep doing this situation where we are not attempting to pay attention or like take any level of interest, it's going to get to that point where cons are just going to be like, we cannot afford to take this risk. We're just not going to deal with it.
And like part of that question is, should we be at that point, right? Like I think part of the comments after that first one was, should children not be allowed at cons, period? And that is the question, I guess, do we want to push cons to make that decision? I still don't think we should. Kids should be allowed. I mean, some cons, right? Like, I'm thinking Fan Expo is for the broader audience. It's for kids all the way up to you've been doing this your entire life or you started in like you're 80, whatever ages. Like, it's all ages. But there's other conventions where it's like maybe even still anime-centered ones. Not all anime is for kids. Not all kids should be at all anime cons. But, you know, that limitation of like only 15 and up still kind of sucks because there's 13-year-olds watching good anime for their ages and they still want to be part of the community.
Oh, absolutely. And it happened to us at COAF on our all ages panel. Mm-hmm. We let one slide go that I made. It was all me. Omar took heat for it for no reason, but the answer, right? The answer was that bitch Malty, and I'm just like, I know there's a kid in the back row because whenever there's a question, his answers are anime, which tells me that his parents are into it. So his parents brought him here. His parents are probably aware that, like, we play things fast and loose, and you're going to bump into that problem. But I wasn't entirely, like, happy about it when it's just like, oh, no. And then, like, I think Kim's just like, skip this one. No, we can't have this one. And it was justifiable, because, like, we say all ages, and then we blast something like that.
See, I'm also old though, so saying like that bitch Malty to me did not feel like a adult thing. Like if it's on primetime TV, I'm like, meh.
Yeah.
Meh.
That kid in the background was a kid. Like they were, and I'm bad at ages, probably 5. Do they even know what the word bitch means at that point?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And so like when you have kids who are there, chances are is like, they are brought there by their parents. I don't know any like 5-year-old. She's like, I want to go to a convention. Convention is a multi-syllable word that might trip them up. It trips me up. I don't blame them. No judgment.
Yeah, no, and their parents were totally there.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation with the parents. Oh yeah, it's fine. He's got headphones on. You're good.
Yeah. I just get it is a fine line where we are trying, like, you want to be welcoming to everybody into the community. For this part of the conversation, you want to be welcoming to everybody, because there's a whole level of gatekeeping where it's just like, oh, you like anime now? Don't do that. Letting new people in to enjoy it with you, while at the same time trying to make sure like everybody's okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a weird balancing act that the community itself kind of has to deal with.
It is. Because not every con is going to do it. Not every con can do it successfully. And once they start doing it, it could just ruin the environment of the con, honestly, if it's not done properly.
Yeah. Now, you guys might know, because I am oblivious to everything around me. Over at COAF, like, it seemed like at a certain point of night, I saw no children. Were they just like, no kid is allowed here past like 9 p.m. Get out, you're evicted?
Yes and no. I mean, COAF, similar to what NDK used to be back then, after a certain point, it's 18 plus panels.
Okay.
The adults usually take their children away. It's usually honestly bedtime by that point, so the kids are gone for whatever their reasons are, but they're not kicked out either.
Yeah, if you remember our later panel, like they're checking IDs, except Caroline just let us all through. She was staff, but everyone else they're checking IDs to get past to where that the late panel that we did. I forget which one it was, but
I think that was like Jeopardy.
Check everything.
I think it was Jeopardy because we had the buzzers that broke.
Yeah. It's the timing of it. It really is. Kids like 10 and under, probably their bedtimes by then. Anything between like tweens to teens, like even up to 18, you're gonna hang around because you think you're cool and you want to like be up late and like it's a really cool environment and you want to hang out as long as you can. But there's not much you can do after that time.
They think hanging out with us is cool.
Exactly. No, they think hanging out with their friends is cool, which it really is at that age. Like it's the coolest thing you could do is be out later than what your parents usually let you, and be around other friends that like the same stuff. You just can't get into too many of the panels at that time.
I think, speaking, I believe the rave is supposed to be like 15 and plus. Correct me though, because I guess it depends on the convention. But a lot of the raves,
it probably depends on the convention.
Yeah,
either 15 or 18 up.
Yeah, so because I remember going to the rave when I was like 13.
What? They let you in?
Yeah, I mean, they weren't checking IDs or anything. They were just like, go in, you have the pass. And I mean, makes sense. All they really want to do is make money. So.
Kim has been the problem.
I have not been the problem. Okay. I was invited. I went. I didn't get drunk.
I was invited. I was allowed to be there.
Yeah. And that's good enough. Okay. But oh my god, guys, like this was such a great discussion. I've been like holding this in since I saw that video because I was like, I'm curious, like at what point are we okay, are we not okay, like should kids actually attend and stuff like that. I'm taking my niece and nephew on their first time at Fan Expo, and it's going to be exciting because to me, I've gone to conventions since I was 11, so for me this is exciting stuff because they actually, well, at least one of them likes anime. The other one's going as a mushroom girl. So it's exciting for me because I bought him a cosplay. He's going to go as Deku. He's also into comics. So that's another thing that he enjoys is reading comics. And it's just, to me, I know what is okay and what's not okay just from so much experience of attending. And most likely, I think taking them to the voice acting panels will be hella boring because to me, they're hella boring. If I wanted to talk to them, I would prefer waiting in line to actually talk to them and have a conversation.
I can honestly hear Joe's blood boiling now.
I know. That's so true. In my defense, though, this will be the first year that I go to Fan Expo and actually wait in line to talk to someone. His name is Brandon Rogers, and he voice acts as Blitz from Hell of a Boss, which I've always been a huge fan of. And I'm gonna go cosplaying as a cherub, and I'm gonna shoot my arrow at him and be like, "Hey, that's what you get for not letting me back into heaven."
Are the kids gonna be in that line though?
No, they will not.
Just
Thankfully,
making sure.
yeah, no, thankfully my boyfriend will be there. It's actually his niece and nephew, but you know, we've been together for like 10 years, so it's
It's the
basically
same.
mine. Yeah. Um, but honestly, this is a great conversation because we always give the fault to the person asking the questions or the person who's doing these things, but we generally do have to think about who who is the main concern. And I do believe a part of it is the conventions, but it could also be the parents. Unfortunately though, like we don't know the situation. We don't know like how far this happens or what I'm trying to like get at is we can't just assume these things, you know? And as much as these videos get stitched or responded to, honestly, it should be just let go. Let go because these things just happen really quickly. It could be a snippet, and this could spiral into something super huge, which is in an anime community, it's just not MK in general, I think, is blaming it on everyone. Or just saying, no, a certain amount of age group should not attend when a lot of people enjoy that same stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Well, and we didn't even talk about this too, is the whole, should they attend? Yes, maybe, depends on the convention, right? Are they
Yeah,
going to have fun? But the other thing is everybody else going to have fun?
that's true.
Like my issue right now with Fan Expo is it is now a family convention. I will refuse to go to Fan Expo because it is a family convention. I don't enjoy being around 4 to 10-year ages because they don't know what they're doing. They're not ingrained in the fandom yet. Their parents are still teaching them manners. Like it's just it's a lot of chaos that I can't handle, and I don't want to be near it. So this is my last year at Fan Expo because it's too many kids, because I don't want to be in a convention where there's kids everywhere and kid activities and no fun for me.
Honestly, we're gonna bring that up. Usually I'm like we should leave it at 60 minutes, but that is just like a good case because as adults, you know, like we go to these conventions for something that we have a huge knowledge of, but like can it be a little bit less fun when you invite like 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds? You know, I don't know, not a huge age group. I mean, what do you guys think? What age would it be okay?
It depends on the convention. Like I have no issues with Fan Expo becoming a family thing. I'm just not a family. Like I don't have children to bring to this, so I'm not going to enjoy it. So I'm not going to go. But like honestly, that is perfectly fine because those kids who have parents who will bring them into the fandoms will have the best time of their lives. They have activities, they have shows, they have contests. Like it's the coolest thing for these kids. I have no kid to enjoy it with, so I'm not going to go. It's honestly that simple for me.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point, a good thing to talk about is like as long as the parents are with the kids and the kids are, you know, able to be, you know, mobile and they can, you know, be kept from being overly disruptive. I don't like the idea of kids being banned from any cons outside of, you know, something like DakuCon or obviously Edgy Expo that are 100% geared towards adults.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a weird, it's kind of just a weird level of gatekeeping, not only from the kid point of view, but I think we also sometimes forget from the parent point of view. Like there are a lot of parents out there where both parents have to work, money's tight, they have a few things that they really like to be into, one of them being maybe anime or comics or whatever it is, and trying to get a babysitter for 3 days of a con is a really, really tough ask. And so are we going to start kind of gatekeeping some of like the, you know, the nerd fandoms out there for people who can only afford it if they have kids? And it gets kind of a dangerous road too. Like the conversation like doesn't happen in a bubble. Like the conversation around banning kids around here, because like a lot of people are like, you know, I don't have kids, it's ruining my experience, I don't want them there, is not that much of a far away from why am I paying taxes for schools? I don't have kids. What do I need to pay taxes for schools? And which isn't too far away from, well, why would I want to help people, the homeless, or why would I need to be taxed for better health care? These conversations are getting, we're moving over like TikTok. Some of these conversations is only a couple steps away from boomer talk. And it's like, we need to slow down. And like when we start wanting to exclude people because of our strictly from one point of view, it feels like a dangerous rhetoric where we're going to start falling into these pits. Now, me personally, I'm fortunate enough that, you know, I can leave my kids at home whenever I go to a con because I know they're not ready. But for some parents, they might not have that option. It's either they don't get to go and enjoy one of the things that really brings them joy and something they really want to share with their kids, or it just doesn't happen. You know, some people don't have that flexibility, and I don't like the idea of us doing that extra kind of gatekeeping around that, especially because I'm used to back in the day when we just wished anybody knew what the hell anime was outside of, you know, a couple
The dark
people.
times.
Exactly. And so now that I'm seeing it just being so, you know, welcomed by so many different groups, so many different demographics, age groups across the board, and it's finally gotten to a point where now it's like a real medium, and now we want to gatekeep. It's just like it feels like a really bad slide. So I don't like the fact that that conversation even came up because it was just like 0 to 60.
Yeah, I mean, like it, and like you brought it to a very good point, but like a interesting way to look at it is there was a group of people out there that were specifically stating that like you should not be allowed in like Disney World or Disneyland without a child. No, it's not meant for adults. It's meant for families.
That is bullshit.
Yeah, so now we're having the same conversation about cons.
Yeah.
And Omar's right. It's real close to boomer talk. I do not mind children being there. I'm not an anti-kid kind of person. I do get a little colorful on my language when they all start screaming. But I try my best not to say it loud. Bad habits. Just bad habits.
Kudos, though. Trying matters.
Yeah, sometimes you'll see blood coming out of the corner of my mouth. That is me actually biting my tongue.
Oh, no.
No, it's never that bad, but like I don't mind it at all. I'm glad that they are there. I'm glad that their parents are bringing them to something that they enjoy that might actually like be fun for the kid. Because I don't know if you guys have ever been dragged along to do something that your parents wanted to do that you could not possibly cared about, and you were bored out of your mind, and all you want to do is go home.
Preach.
I'd rather stare at the sun.
Yeah, and I think that drives the point home is that, like, kids should be allowed at cons. Not every single con. Like you said, Omar, we have those 18-plus cons and maybe even some, like, 15-up cons that, like, anything below that probably shouldn't be there. But cons are getting better at including the kids, including the families, and having those activities for everybody involved. And that's beautiful to see because we want them involved. We want them to learn our joys, basically. The only issue with me is I don't have fun with kids around, usually. Like, it's just not fun for me. But that doesn't mean it's not fun for them. Doesn't mean it's not fun for the families involved. Doesn't mean it's not fun for everybody else but me.
Right.
You can hang out with my kids for like an hour, and then after that, you will have so much fun with every other kid.
Ooh, okay.
I'm kidding.
I got stock in Benadryl.
No, but one other point I kind of want to make, again, just being, you know, being damn near 40 and just everything I've seen is like in my current company, I've worked there for like 12 years now. And I've always been one of the ones who I always wore my nerd badge on my chest. I didn't really care. And so like whenever I had my desk, I was at all kinds of nerd shit everywhere. And it's been kind of fun to see the evolution and the change because the fact that younger people were able to be allowed into these fandoms. Like when I first started, I would get a lot of people come to my desk every now and then. One of like the managing directors or some of the higher ups come by and just look at my desk like, that's a real colorful desk you have there. Or just other people would come by like, oh, what are all those cartoon things around? And then now, you know, 12 years later, I got people coming up, you know, people, you know, new young professionals in their 20s come across like, yo, is that Rengoku? Or like, oh shit, is that Goku? And they're like, and we're talking about Demon Slayer or Dragon Ball because they were allowed in the fandom. And so like, I've seen the evolution in real time of of how it's grown because we let kids into the fandom and we weren't gatekeeping it. And so I wish that some of the people who were Because, most of the ones who are making this stuff, saying no kids at the cons are people like in their 20s. I wish they would kind of look at it of like, well, how would you have felt if you weren't allowed in the cons? Because a couple of people in your age grade, in your age range did something stupid, but TikTok wasn't a thing then, so we didn't know.
Yeah. And honestly, like, if I were to tell anybody, like, if cons were somewhat tiered off based off age, right? Where it's like, no, literally all ages, 15 and up, and then 18 and up. For anybody who's just like, I need to get into the 18 and up, you'll get there, and I promise you, you'll have just as much fun there as you did at the 15 and up. It's going to be a more mature topic source that you're talking about. Like, it's nothing.
You're 19, you'll be like, well, that's boring now.
Oh God, yeah. It's like I don't quite want to say it, but I'm going to say it. It's like drinking, where you're just like, oh yeah, no, I'll totally drink, and then you get to 21, and you're just like, this sucks. This stuff's expensive. I don't want this. I want McDonald's.
Yeah, it's a good topic. Honestly, I'm just excited. I don't even have kids, and I'm excited to take my niece and nephew just because I remember there was a time when I've been with him since he was like 3, maybe 4. I mean, like, I lived with his family. Yeah. Well, like, I've lived with his family, so I've known my nephew for so long. And I remember at some point he was like, oh, you watched that? Like, he questioned what I watched. And I was just like, yeah, it's like really cool. And I tried to make him watch Naruto at some point, and he was just not into it. But now that he's into My Hero, I'm like, hey, you and we know the same stuff. And then he always like asks me about recommendations, and I'm like, this is so stinking cute. Like, it's adorable. So, I mean, at some age, I did agree that, like, it was a little bit harder to go to conventions when kids were there. I think it was cute as hell seeing them in cosplays, though. Because I'd be like, oh my god, like, look at them. They're like tiny little children and these cute little cosplays. Nowadays, I'm just like, I'm okay with it. Because there are certain conventions that are more for adult people, and you have that option. It's not like there's one convention in Colorado forever, and like we can't go to multiple ones. It's just that there are now so many conventions, and you have the option to go to one, to another. If you don't like one, you could go to another, and I think that's amazing, because as far as I knew, there was only NDK, and NDK was the only thing. And now there's just COAF, there's DakuCon, there's Fan Expo. Like, there's so many things now that it's hard to gatekeep because you can't do all of them, But yeah, honestly, this was a great discussion. I was itching for this for a while, but this topic just kind of blew up, and I think no one has really talked about it, and I do feel like it was an important topic for sure. By the sound of it, I think we all agree that most of it is just from, like, us just not assuming what it is, and hopefully this generation grows up, understands to be respectful, or, we teach them, now that they're more children anime fans, that we teach them, like, what's okay, what's not okay, and stuff like that, because that's really how it'll grow to be. And also, don't stalk people. I mean, like, I understand if you're a huge fandom and it's
at a basic level.
I know, like, just don't. Like, it's never okay. It's just a child. Don't make them cry over a mistake, It's just not okay. But yeah, I think this was a great episode, and next episode we will still be doing a live unedited. We'll be talking about our top 10 waifus and ranking them by person. Well, sorry, we will be ranking our top 10 waifus per person to see who's the best and who's, like, at the bottom. So that would be a fun episode. But thank you so much.
Number 1, Vivant San. She gets me out of bed every morning and makes me go to work. Number 2, Coffee San. I just need that extra boost to keep me going.
Oh god. Yeah, hopefully it's not like that, Colin.
I'm just picking inanimate objects. Why not?
But thank you so much
think
for...
they thought Vyvanse-san was an actual character, Colin.
Yeah, I actually did. Until you said coffee, and I was like, "Oh, never mind." That's
no.
I prefer Adderall-kun personally, but
Yeah.
Vyvanse I hear is good.
A Ritalin-sama.
Yeah, might as well put vending machine Chan or whatever in there, because why not?
Ladies and gentlemen, I pilot truck-kun all the time. Feel free to don't step out in front of trucks. You don't get isekai'd. You get smeared like jam on toast. Don't do it.
That's not real, okay?
No, it's not.
Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode, and we will catch you on the next one. Drink your tea, stay hydrated, and yeah, have a good time.